DayZ has seen a large influx of players recently due to the Xbox Game Pass. With that, I decided to put together a complete beginner's guide that will teach you everything you need to know while you're new to the game. There's a lot to get through, so I'm going to try my best to keep this video as concise as I can. First of all, I want to quickly discuss the I Survived DayZ map. It's an amazing resource and you should absolutely get into the habit of using it, as it'll make your experience as a new player a lot less stressful. The map will show you the towns, locations of water pumps, fruit trees, helicrash sites, military camps, everything. It's also very useful for locating your friends. The map is available for your browser and can be downloaded as an app for Android and iOS. When you spawn into the game, you'll more than likely have no idea where you are. Understanding the spawns is something that arrives with experience. The same applies to navigation in general. There isn't really a shortcut around it, as Chernarus and Livonia are very large maps and it takes time to learn your way around them. But you can use maps to help you out and accelerate the learning process. Keep an eye out for road signs outside of towns. These will be your best chance of finding out where you are, as you can find them on the map and go from there. One of the first things you might see after spawning are these small fishing boats that are scattered up and down the entire coast of Chernarus. These have high chances of spawning food, drink, clothing, backpacks and fishing rods. It's worth checking a few of them to try and get some early food, which will allow you to move further inland without starving. The status indicators can be found at the bottom right of your screen. You have thirst, hunger, temperature, blood and health. As soon as you spawn, your thirst and hunger will already be low, and so finding food and drink is your first priority. You will usually spawn with a small amount, but it won't get you far. Your character's temperature rises and decreases for various different reasons, the most prominent being weather. If your character is wet, your temperature will drop rapidly, causing you to lose health over time. Your character's blood level decreases from excessive bleeding caused by zombies or other players attacking you. Moving with ruined shoes or sliding down ladders with ruined gloves can also make you bleed. When bleeding, you'll need to use either a rag or bandage. Sewing kits can also be used as an alternative. Your character's health represents the overall life force of your character, and as such is the most critical and important to pay attention to. If it falls all the way down, your character will simply die. Your health will decrease for many reasons, such as starvation and dehydration, bleeding, falling, gunshot wounds, or even from being too cold due to the rain. Moving into one of the coastal towns is where you'll find your first lootable buildings. However, it isn't likely you'll find much, if anything at all, as fresh spawns are constantly moving through these areas. The loot that you can find, however, is generally going to be very low tier and basic. The more further inland you progress, the better the loot you can expect to potentially find. Whilst you are still around the coast, keep an eye out for a knife or can opener so that you have something to open your food with. These can spawn anywhere, but you can also craft an improvised knife by combining two small stones which can be found along the coast, railroads and hiking trails. You can also use a pickaxe to mine boulders. If you're struggling to find a knife, axes and even sledgehammers can be used to open food, but you will spill the majority of it, and so you should only do it if desperate. You can open your food by simply combining the can with the suitable object and holding the respective key or button. This same logic applies to most similar interactions throughout the game, such as crafting, repairing items and so on. You may come across some zombies inside towns. Depending on how many there are, they can often be worth killing, as they're easy to handle one at a time and they can drop valuable items such as food and ammo. The best way to kill a zombie is to simply punch it to death, as while doing so, the zombie will be stunned and unable to hurt you. You can use a melee weapon such as a knife or even a can of food as well, which will often kill them slightly faster than your fists. Sometimes you may want to be more careful and avoid zombies, as they're dangerous in numbers and can very easily reveal your position to hostile players. You'll want to make sure that you stop at a water pump after spawning. You can find one in almost every single town on the map. It may take some time to learn the locations of them, but you can use the maps to help you. You must drink from a pump to ensure that the water you are drinking is clean. Water purification tablets must be used on water filled up from any other water source, as well as bottles or canteens that randomly spawn, as they can commonly spawn contaminated with cholera. I'll explain more about infections and how to fight them later. Keep drinking until the full stomach icon pops up at the bottom right of your screen. It might take a while, but it will save you making constant trips to water pumps. The same applies to eating. The full stomach indicator is the only way to know for sure that your character is full up. The food and drink icons can deceive you into thinking you're full, but they actually go far beyond what they show, so don't be afraid to keep eating even if the icons are fully coloured. A good tip to keep in mind is that it's much faster and safer to fill up a bottle or canteen at a water pump, drink it and fill it up again. It fills you up much faster and allows you to move around while drinking, reducing the chance of you being ambushed. Once you've found a small amount of food and used the water pump, you should begin trying to move inland and get off the coast as quickly as possible. Towns further into the map will provide you with better loot as less players would have passed through them in such a short space of time. You may struggle with navigation, which is to be expected, but just try your best to utilise signs and the iSurvive map. You can also just follow roads to make sure that you don't end up getting lost in the woods. Sometimes when travelling, you may find yourself caught in the rain, which can lead to your character becoming cold, resulting in your health decreasing over time. A fire could be essential to surviving, but you'll need a knife to make one. Simply cut down a bush or two and combine the sticks with one of your rags to create a fireplace kit. Then use your knife on a tree to cut off some bark. Combine a short stick with a piece of bark to craft a hand drill kit, which you can then use to light your fire. You may want to add a few extra sticks to the fire to keep it going for long enough. There are several ways you can craft fireplace kits, so feel free to mess around and experiment with it. Also note that if you have a hatchet or axe but no knife, you can still get a fire going, but you will need matches as you cannot cut bark from trees with axes. You can also wring out wet clothes by removing them and placing them in your hands. This will dry out your clothes and increase your temperature. It will also relieve your stamina, which suffers a reduction when your character is wet. Also remember that when your temperature is low, you have a higher chance of becoming sick, resulting in your character coughing and sneezing continuously. Colds can eventually leave on their own, but it can take a while, and if you're travelling with friends, you'll be able to spread it back and forth by being in close proximity of each other. With that said, I'll briefly cover some of the different medical supplies you can find in DayZ. Tetracycline pills are used for treating cholera and colds. Multivitamin pills are used for boosting your character's immune system for a duration of 5 minutes. They help fight all diseases and can be used in conjunction with other pills. Charcoal tabs are used for treating salmonella caused by consumption of raw meat or from eating/drinking with bloody hands. Chlorine tabs are used for treating potentially contaminated water, ensuring it is safe to drink. Codeine pills can be used to allow you to move faster when injured for a duration of 5 minutes. Morphine removes all limping for a duration of 1 minute, granting you full movement regardless of your health. Epinephrine removes stamina consumption for a duration of 1 minute and can be used on an unconscious player to get them back up. Saline bags boost your blood regeneration by 5 times the normal amount for a duration of 3 minutes. Blood bag IVs instantly restore 500 units of blood, but players must ensure the blood type matches, otherwise transfusions can be lethal. All of these medical supplies can be found inside hospitals and clinics. One of the big questions new players are always asking is, where do I find guns? Most weapons in DayZ can be found more or less anywhere except for obviously military weapons, which are limited to specific areas. If you have issues finding weapons on console, you may want to try playing on community servers instead of official ones. Official servers can often have issues with players hoarding guns, which can prevent any more from spawning. For the sake of video length, I won't go into too much detail about finding weapons, as I could go on forever. However, there are many loot guides on YouTube, and I also have one of my own, which I'll leave a link to in the description if you're interested. I've also left a link in the description to a DayZ wiki page that shows every single weapon in the game, as well as the ammo and attachments that they use. At this point, you should have a solid foundation to start playing DayZ. There really is a lot more to this game, but if I were to get into it, I'd be talking for hours. The most simple and best advice I can give to new players is to just jump straight in. You will be confused and you will die, but that's all part of the learning experience. DayZ really is unlike any other game, and when it comes to the encounters, it is absolutely unmatched. If you thought this guide was useful, please consider subscribing and taking a look at some of my other guides, which you may also find helpful. Thank you for watching, and take care.